Hi guys, this is Lauren with Lauren Watkins Art, and today I'm going to be working with gouache. Now, I am not a gouache expert. This is more me just experimenting and getting back into using it because I haven't used gouache in 4 years. This is the scene I'm going to be using. This is a picture I took at the Great Salt Lake. This is from the north end near the Spiral Jetty. Here are the paints I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using Rose of Tyrian, which is a magenta-like color, Orange Lake Deep, Hansa Yellow Medium, Turquoise Blue, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Zinc White, Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, and Ivory Black. So now I am just sketching out my scene in my sketchbook. My clips that hold the book open and the pages down were getting in the way, so I had to move those. But you can see I put tape on the edges. That's so I have a nice clean white border when I'm done painting. I used a ruler to mark in my horizon line, and now I'm just blocking in the major shapes that I saw in my reference photo. So the mountains in the distance, the rocks in the foreground, just general shapes to act as a guide when I start painting. The sketchbook I'm using is a Strathmoore 400 mixed media sketchbook. I have used this sketchbook mostly for gouache. I've used it for watercolor, and some kind of pen and ink illustrations in the past, but I prefer it for gouache, so it's kind of become my gouache sketchbook. So now I am taking that Rose Tyrian or Tyrian, maybe I've watched too many Game of Thrones, I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's the magenta color, and I'm diluting it down so it behaves a little bit more like a watercolor, and I am just toning the paper pink. Now, this isn't something I typically do with a watercolor painting, but since this is a more opaque medium, I can tone the paper similar to how I tone it when I am working with soft pastels. So it's a fun kind of change up from my normal experience with working with watercolor. Once I got the paper toned, now I'm going in with a more concentrated mix of that Rose Tyrian. I added a little bit of blue to it to make it more of a slight purple color. And I am just blocking in my shadows, those darker areas that I saw in my reference photo. It was really fun to do an underpainting for an actual paint because I don't do a lot of underpaintings with my watercolors because you're always trying to preserve the white of your paper, so you don't do a unifying gouache like this very often. I do them a lot with soft pastels, and I really enjoy doing different types of underpaintings for my pastel work. But since I don't work with like acrylic paints or oil paints, I don't get to do an underpainting with paint very often. So it was really fun to pull out the gouache and get to experiment with that aspect of the painting process. So now I am taking my ultramarine blue and a little bit of phthalo blue, and I'm starting to block in the shadow areas on my sky. And I'm trying to work fairly quick so that I can get a nice blend with my gouache. And then I'm gradually adding a little bit of zinc white to the mix so that I can get a nice gradient. Now, there's zinc white and there's titanium white. I have titanium white, but when I was first getting started with gouache, I only had titanium white to work with, and I really struggled with using it. I didn't like how overpowering it was to my mixes. It turned everything super opaque and super chalky looking. And what I realized was it was just too strong of a pigment. So I started using the zinc white. I believe sometimes it's called mixing white. And I found it was a lot more forgiving in being able to lighten up a value without it going too pastel too quickly. So I tend to use zinc white the most in my mixing for gouache. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but it's what works for me. And then I use titanium when I need something a little bit more powerful. I'm keeping this initial layer on the sky a lot more loose. I'm not trying to be perfect because I can go in and do a lot more layers over the top. So I'm just trying to get the lighter values where they belong, the darker values where they belong, and just follow the general shape and movement that I see within my reference photo. Then I can go back and tweak and adjust it as I go along. One thing I found with gouache is I tend to get a little bit more painterly with it than I do with watercolor. So I have an easier time being more loose and illustrative with gouache than I do with watercolor. I don't know if it's because it's a skill issue, I'm just not as good with gouache as I am with watercolor, or if it's just because of the way the paints behave. That's what feels more natural and intrinsic to me when I'm working with it. Gouache is always a bit of a challenge for me because I've noticed with gouache, some colors shift lighter when they dry and some colors shift darker when they dry. Where watercolor, it's consistently drying lighter, and acrylic, it consistently dries darker. With gouache, it feels like some dry lighter and some dry darker. I especially noticed that with really inexpensive brands, a lot more of that color shift. So I have more luck when I use the nicer quality gouache paints when I am mixing. So now I am taking my burnt sienna and a little bit of our ultramarine blue and mixing it with white to create a nice sandy color to block in the beach on our painting. And something I noticed is that when I add white to the mix, it really does affect how the pigments interact with each other. And it's in a way that I'm not used to because I'm used to working with watercolor. So I added a little bit of this yellow to the mix, and it is a fairly warm yellow. It's not too cool. And when I added it, it really cooled down that mix and made it slightly more green than what I thought it would. And what I'm used to with watercolor. So it was just kind of interesting seeing how white can really impact how a mix behaves and how your pigments interact with each other. So now I'm going to start mixing up some of my darker values. And for the most part, I'm using a mixture of our Orange Lake Deep with our Phthalo Blue to get those darker values, because those are opposite colors on the color wheel and they neutralize each other, and that combination gets quite dark. And then I can add a little bit of white to it to lighten it up if I need some more subtle highlights, and then add a little bit of black if I need it to go a little bit darker than what that mix does. But it's a good base dark for me to use, and then I can tweak and adjust it from there. Something I realized I needed to do with this piece was to decide what side of the rocks was going to be in highlight and what side was going to be in shadow, because my reference photo was taken at high noon. My husband and I had just driven out to the salt flats to look at the spiral jetty, and it was a beautiful day, obviously really dark blue skies. It was absolutely stunning, but there wasn't a lot of shadow, and you really need to have some shadows in your paintings to create depth and dimension. So I had to decide what side of the rocks was going to be a little bit more in highlight than the other, and add a little bit more of a cast shadow just to some areas, just to provide a little bit more visual interest and depth to the piece. But I'm just going in with that square-ended paintbrush, and I'm just blocking in the general shapes of those rocks. You can see I've added a little bit of highlight to one side, a little bit more of a shadow to the other. As I was looking at my reference photo and my painting, I decided I needed to add a little bit of turquoise to the sky, because as the sky was getting closer to the horizon line, it was starting to get a little bit more of a green undertone, and so I needed to add that to my sky to help get that depth and just visual interest. I really liked how the sky started to look once I started adding this turquoise color. Now, if you don't have turquoise, you can easily mix it with a mixture of phthalo green and phthalo blue and titanium white. That is what this mixture is made from. With watercolor, if you're trying to get a turquoise, you can use a mixture of phthalo blue and phthalo green, and you can just add water, and that will give you a nice transparent turquoise. If you want it to be a little bit more opaque, you can add some titanium white to that mix. So just something to keep in mind. You might have noticed at the beginning of this video, I showed you a physical copy of the reference photo that I am working from. And that's because this year I set a goal for myself to scroll less and paint more. I don't know about you, but this last few years I've been more and more attached to my phone, and especially the last few months, I spent too much time doom scrolling, and I wanted to break the habit of being on my phone, because even when I wasn't intending to be on my phone, I would just magically find my way there. So I would be trying to find a reference photo to paint, and I would go to try and find that reference photo, whether it was in my photo album or on a site like Pixabay. And then next thing I know, 40 minutes has gone by and I'm on Facebook, and that is not what I intended to do originally. So I'm trying to break that habit. It's a little hard to break when your job is online and you are creating content, but I've tried to set better boundaries for myself. So time limits on how long I can be on individual apps, and also by having physical pictures to work from. And one of the things I noticed when I switched to working from physical pictures from digital ones is it made me look at the big picture more. I couldn't get bogged down by details because I couldn't endlessly zoom in to see each individual eyelash or hair or a blade of grass. I had to look at the picture as a whole. And that was really good for me to kind of loosen up and not get bogged down by individual details. I also noticed that I made a decision on what I was going to work on a lot faster because I didn't have endless amounts of pictures to choose from. I do have several hundred pictures that I printed off from travels and living in different states that I've taken over the years, but I don't have millions and millions of pictures at my fingertips. So I could just flip through, find what is enticing to me, and then get to work and just focus on the big picture. So now let's get back to what's been going on in the painting. To warm up that sand, I decided to mix yellow ochre with a little bit of that white. It created a nice warm sandy color, and it didn't cool off as much when white was added to it as much as the Hansa yellow did. Now I'm going in and adding the green blades of grass that we saw in our reference photo. I'm using a variety of different blues and yellows for this. I'm using the Hansa yellow medium, I'm using the yellow ochre, the turquoise, the phthalo blue, the ultramarine blue, and just creating different combinations of that so that I can get various different greens. I really like the yellow ochre because it is a slightly more earthy yellow than the Hansa yellow, so it creates more natural looking greens quite easily. And then I can add that Hansa yellow for the sections that need a little bit more vibrancy and a little bit more of a pop to them so that they stand out more. As I was working on this piece, and especially once I was starting to work on the grass sections, I realized that one of the things I need to go work on a lot more and practice with gouache with is I need to practice painting foliage and plants. I am really good at doing close-up, like zoom in really close on a leaf or zoom in on a flower and paint that and paint it realistic. I can do that, but I'm not very good at doing foliage from a distance where you have a big clump of leaves or a clump of grass or some kind of other plant, especially with gouache. I can do it with watercolor after a lot of practice, and I can do it with soft pastels, but with gouache, I am struggling. So that is something I need to practice. It doesn't help the fact that I haven't hardly used gouache at all for 4 years. And even before then, it was kind of like a once a year thing. I noticed that I tend to work with gouache in February, and that's when I work with it the most. And then it kind of tapers off and I don't use it for the rest of the year. And then every February, I kind of come back to it and use it for a few weeks. So that's something I notice about myself. But I do need to go practice my foliage and doing different kinds and different textures so that my pieces don't get held back by that limitation. And that is where I feel like this piece kind of fell flat, was in those grassy sections. And so that is a sign I need to practice those. So when I want to do a full-size piece that isn't in a sketchbook or even a sketchbook piece, I can make the piece look the way I envision it in my head. For this piece, again, I'm not trying to get all the little details in. I want to see individual brush strokes. I want to see individual markings. And then when you step back, it kind of all comes together and it looks like the reference photo. But I did decide to add a little bit more texture to the sand so it looks a little bit less perfectly smooth, add a little bit more of a cast shadow from the grass and the rocks onto the sand, and just kind of get some of those details blocked in just a little bit more to help this piece feel more complete and help those rocks have a little bit more weight to them so they don't look like they're just floating on the surface of the sand. When I was looking at this piece from a distance, I decided I needed to darken up some areas in the sky, especially that top corner, so that we can get a little bit more contrast with the piece. So a little bit more of that phthalo blue, a touch of ultramarine blue. I added that to the top corner, and then just adding a little bit more of that to the sky. Now, one of the bittersweet things with gouache is that it is reactivated with water, so it can be a pro or a con depending on what you're doing. But I have found when I'm working on skies, I kind of like that I can reactivate it. You just have to be careful with how much water you're adding so you don't undermine what you've just done, but it does make it so you can kind of go back and blend things a little bit more. So I added those colors to the sky. Then I decided I needed a little bit more contrast with some of the rocks, so I added a little bit of a highlight where I'm using just a bit of that yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and a lot of that white, and just adding a little bit of a highlight to those sections, looking at my reference photo and seeing exactly where those highlights fall within the piece. A personal preference that I have when I'm working with gouache is I tend to like golden Taklon brushes the best. I don't like synthetic natural hair brushes or natural hair brushes when I'm working with gouache for two reasons. One, they hold on to a lot of water, and so it's very easy for me to get too much water onto the paper and reactivate those layers that I've put down. So I don't like that aspect. And then I've also noticed that gouache can be quite hard on your paintbrushes, and especially your natural hair ones. So I tend to like something that is a little bit more durable, like the golden Taklon paintbrushes. So now it's time to go and finish the sky. I had done that second layer of blue to really darken up the sky and get those values where I wanted them to be, but I needed to let that dry completely before I could work on the clouds, because gouache activates really easily with water. I would say even more easily than watercolor does when it's on the surface of the paper. So you have to be really mindful with how much water you're adding with each layer. So I waited for that layer to dry completely, and now I'm using a dry brush technique. Dry brushing is where you have a dry surface and fairly dry paint, and when you brush your paintbrush across the surface, that paint can't flow anywhere, so it kind of just sticks to the high points on the paper and it leaves you with a speckled effect. And that's what I really wanted to achieve, to get kind of that wispy cloud-like effect in my sky. So I'm just doing quite a bit of dry brushing and just being really, really mindful of how much water is being added. Then I took what was left over on my paintbrush and I'm just doing a few little dabs on the rocks to just give a little bit more texture so that they have a little bit more visual interest to them. And then I decided I was happy with how this painting was looking, so it's time to remove the tape. And there is nothing more satisfying in the world to me as an artist than removing the tape on a painting like this and getting those nice clean borders that just kind of clean up the whole painting and pull it all together. And this I would say is probably one of the best landscapes I've ever done in gouache. And so I'm really proud of how it turned out. Now, I still want to work on my foliage and some of those skills, but I'm really happy with how this piece kind of came together, especially after so long of not working with gouache. Here it is up close. You can see that pink underpainting peeking through in different areas just to add a little bit of visual interest to the piece as a whole. And here it is with my reference photo. So not an exact recreation, but pretty close and not too shabby for someone that hasn't worked in gouache in 4 years. If you guys like this video, please hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you want to see more of what I create here on this channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.